Today we will be taking a look at diversity in higher education through the aspects of history, present status, and future trends that are pertaining to diversity in higher education. With the historical perspective, at the beginning of the 20th century, college was structured for white, Anglo-Saxon, and Protestant elite clergymen. Colleges did not have a highly selective process in place during this time. Before World War I, institutions allowed admissions to all interested people. The way that this process worked was a student's principal, parent, or the headmaster would write to the president or the dean of college about the student, and the student would arrive in college by September. The student would take the school's entrance exam, and then they were simply enrolled. There was no formal application process, and students only inquired about one college typically at that time. For those students that did not pass the entrance exams, they could still be admitted conditionally, or they had the opportunity to retake the test until they received passing standards. We continue with the historical perspective. There was a shift in the typical college admission methods during the early interwar years. At this time, there was a growth in American view of higher education due to the fact that there was this view where they began to view higher education as an important foundation for economic and social mobility. Now, with this new expanding interest and the success that was experienced by Jews into elite colleges, it definitely brought a concern, and that concern was that their presence was changing the college experience and its atmosphere. So in response to this issue, they imposed formal and informal quotas on Jewish admissions. During the 1920s is when elite schools first became selective in their admissions process, and we experienced only admitting a portion of their applicants that met their admission requirements in comparison to when they automatically would admit anyone who was qualified. Character was also first introduced into the admissions process at this time. The historical perspective continued. There was big changes in American higher education by World War II when we were introduced to the GI Bill, and that changed college diversity by making higher education attainable for many working and middle class men. By the early 1960s, the idea of diversity was not only extended to working and middle class men, but to students of color and particularly African Americans. Many schools, due to this new idea of diversity, began recruitment efforts towards African American students. Such programs included the College Assistant Program and the Cooperative Program of Educational Opportunity, which were national programs that assisted with efforts in recruitment of African American students. Now, through the mid and late 1960s, colleges became heavily invested in increasing racial diversity on campuses. And court cases such as the 1978 Regents of the University of California versus Bake brought attention to the U.S. Supreme Court when they ruled that using racial quotas violated the Equal Protection Clause regarding college admission requirements. Now, some of the present trends or trends that we have seen include that there has been many initiatives that have tried to assist with improving diversity in higher education. Although today we still see disparities between white and underrepresented minorities. Now, looking back in 1940, among Americans who were 25 to 29-year-old completing college was white at 5.9% in comparison to African Americans standing at 1.4%. And with this diagram, it just illustrates those numbers and the significant disparity between that of whites and blacks back in 1940. Now, we did see a change by 1995. The percent of 25 to 29-year-olds completing college was standing at 15.4% for African Americans. So a significant change from the number in 1940. Now, in 1975, the percentage of Latinos 25 to 29-year-olds completing college was standing at an 8.8, and unfortunately did not make much of a wave span because by 1995 it only grew to an 8.9%. With that, I do want to mention that between 1940 and 1975, there was no information regarding the educational attainment of Latinos because it was actually not collected by the U.S. Department of Education. With this graph, it shows the post-secondary enrollment rates for all 18 to 24-year-olds by race, ethnicity, dating from 1974 to 2011. So in the white section, we have the number in 1974 at 26%, and by 1992, we see an improvement to 35%, and moving right along up to 2011, we stand at 44%. With the Hispanic population, we see the number in 1974 at a 16%, and by 1992 we're at only 17%, and have made great changes up to 2011, which we stand at a 31%. Now with the black population, we are looking at in 1974 moving from a 17% through 1992 at a 24%, and having some changes dating to 2011 where we stand at a 38% of enrollments for African Americans. Now, other present trends that are currently intact is that not only are there disparities between the number of students of color at institutions, but there is also a raise in concern for their retention rates. So among the students that were enrolled in four-year institutions as freshmen during the 2001 through 2002 academic year, only 57.3% earned their bachelor's degree within those 6 years. Now, more than 3 out of 5 Asian, which stood at a 66.5%, graduated within those 6 years, and within the white population, we stood at a 60.3%, graduating within those 6 years. Now, if we compare that to less than half of the Latinos were graduating or retaining students and graduating within those 6 years, we see them at a 48.3%, and African American students standing at a 41.5%. So some of the future trends that we are currently in place or that are being placed in higher education really have been looking to meet social transformation and change within the American colleges, and are really rethinking diversity. Now, diversity is extensively described within higher education as extremely important, and they value diversity because they see that students can learn from one another, and diversity also brings diverse dialogue, which can also help overcome stereotypes. And learning these two key factors can prepare students for leadership roles in society, or just prepare students for their professional settings where they will engage with diverse individuals and face diverse communities. Now, colleges are currently using extensive outreach programs in order to reach out to diverse populations and to possibly bring in those diverse populations to colleges. So colleges have joined programs such as the Upward Bound program, which is actually a federally funded program for low-income first-generation college students. And colleges and universities are working with students while still in high school in order to provide mentoring, tutoring, and information about financial aid and college admissions. And this is very important because students that are dealing with first generation unfortunately do not have the information about eligibility of financial aid, or even that of its existence, as well as really not knowing how to prepare for the college admissions process that will be forthcoming shortly. Colleges are also finding ways to manage diversity in higher education, better ways of implementing and managing diversity in higher education. There's such programs that have been initiated at certain colleges, such as the Lead Scholar programs, which help first-generation students transition from high school to college in an effective way. And the program focuses on academics, community engagement, and service as well. This program also implements opportunities for internships, prepares these students for graduate school, and other possible opportunities that are available for students. Other trends that have been populating within higher education are the multicultural student services. There has been initiatives for Chicano and Latino student services or centers. There's African American student centers, Asian Pacific and Islander centers, and what these centers can provide for students are mentoring, as well as student services, and even counseling. It is sometimes difficult for students to be away from home, and they set up these methods in order to provide that. Now, as far as the mentoring, they have students that have been successful in their transition and are upperclassmen, and they provide transition material for these first or incoming freshman students. They provide them with the resources that are available to them on a campus. Sometimes it is difficult to know all of the resources that are provided. Some centers provide free printing in comparison to having to print on the local campus where you would initially have to pay for it. They provide computers after hours where they can go and use these computers. So it's definitely another resource that students are able to use. And they also engage students in cultural activities. They have their own graduation ceremonies, and students just really try to work within those centers to make a home away from home and have students feel comfortable and have a place, concerns, a voice, and find any methods possibly retaining and being successful within higher education. Strategies that colleges are using include providing education and training on diversity measures. So new initiatives have been brought out where we have to be culturally aware of diversity within higher education. So there is programs that initiate workshops and other resources in order to engage students and make them aware of the diversity that does exist within their campus. Colleges also have mechanisms in place for reporting prejudice motivated incidents, and so this is really important for students to feel comfortable and feel that they actually have a voice within higher education, and feel that they would be heard in the case that such incidents happen. And then finally, they are promoting racial diversity among leadership as another initiative, and this is crucial and important as well because students feel that they have a voice within higher education with such significant numbers in certain areas. You can feel a little timid or not so open, and promoting that leadership ability within higher education, feeling that they have a voice, can be crucial for students to feel comfortable and at ease. And this can also provide initiatives and the ability to retain students. And I think a lot of these trends are really gearing towards the improvement of awareness of diversity within higher education, but also the importance of making students feel comfortable and welcomed at a institution of higher learning.